inverting a triangle. I want you to think about the big picture, how to shape a face that looks youthful, and that's going to be critical. Look at this photograph here. As you see, she needs a facelift, right? Not in your 40s. So I just filled it. That's a jawline fill. So do you look fatter after fat, or you look slimmer? You look slimmer, because what makes someone heavy is down here. I actually take people that are even slightly overweight and slim their face down. Do you see that triangle being flipped? I want you to understand that that's the key to femininity restedness. Even not when you're seeing the eyes based on the patient request, you can still see restedness. Does she look heavier after the fat, or does she look slimmer? There was no facelift. There was no liposuction. It was just filling. I did take a tiny bit of skin from the upper eyelid. That's the only thing else I did for her. And now she's got a gorgeously rested, feminine, soft face. 55-year-old lady, does she need her skin removed? Does she need a facelift? No, no. This is just filling with fat and creating volumes of beautiful youth, framing that eye and inverting the triangle. You can see both features here pretty clearly. And she looks less heavy. If you look at those eyes, eye bags removed? Nope. Skin removed? No. Brow lift? No. Facelift? No. Just filling with volume. And now I've created a beautiful triangle back to that eye. And you know what's amazing is my patients look good 40 feet away. And we talk about skin, right? Well, you know, it's amazing. I'm going to show you some amazing photos in a moment. But I want you to understand why their skin looks so much better. Did I trick the photography? No, it's just overhead lights. What I did was I created volume. And if you think about what real-world existence we live in, we live with overhead lights. So when lights come down and hit our face, it's beautifully full. When it's hollow and sallow, there is no light that hits it, and the skin doesn't look good. So the first step of making the skin look good is letting light hit it. If there's no light on it, it doesn't look good. And that's what's so powerful, is creating volume. Let's talk about limiting transitions. Is it just putting some volume in different ways? Well, the lady on your left, my right, your left, had a cheek implant, a chin implant, and a facelift. Does she look rested, youthful, feminine, or does she still look exhausted? Here's the problem with an implant. Well, first of all, most people don't want an implant. I don't want an implant if I can avoid it. But here's the thing. An implant has several problems. Number one, remember we get bony around the upper face. You put an implant in there, what does it look like? It looks like either bone or an implant. That's a problem. The next problem, when you create volume of that cheek and you don't balance it with the lower eyelid and the area below the cheek, what do you create? More hollowness, more transitions. You actually exacerbate those transitions. That's a real problem. You want to create convexity, luminosity is a great word, and balance, so that everything is balanced. And I think I did a better job at a facelift without a facelift, without an incision. I just put a little fat into the pre-jowl, the area that just is in front of the jowl, than even the facelift. And how about men? Do they need eyelids cut? No, look at Tom Cruise. It's a low, full brow for even men. So I think cutting on male eyes can actually feminize it and make it look unusual. So the gentleman on the left has had scars and cuts and everything, and all I did was on the right is just blend a little bit, because he's already been overcut. I just brought him back and blended the transitions and softened and brought convexity. And look at that jowl. I'm sorry, that's hard to see on this image, but the jowl has been softened even without a facelift. Okay, here's the key. Do you want to look different? I don't think many people do. I don't want you to look different. I start with your old photographs. And which old photograph? You tell me. We'll sit down together with your photos in your 20s or 30s. And the youngest person I did was a 30-year-old. You think I must be crazy, right? But it's such an easy procedure, done in less than an hour without incisions. And when you get a lot of sun early on, you really hollow out, even sometimes in your early 30s. So the great thing is I can do everything in less than an hour without an incision. And I can bring it back to where your age should be, an age-appropriate look. So let's look at some examples of old photographs. Here's a lady that's just turned 40. Wow, that's a young lady. Doctor, what are you doing? Why don't you be working on older women? But look at her on the left. She already had a brow lift and upper eyelid on the left, and she still looks exhausted. That's a problem. Take a look at this eye. It still looks heavy to you, right? But what I did was I made it heavier, because if she had gone back to her surgeon, she would have had more skin cut, more brow lifted. But hold on, look at her photo. It's hard to see up there on the top right. She has no crease, a barely perceptible crease. If she had gone back and had another brow lift and another skin cut, the crease would have been way wide. Her brows would have been way looking unusual. And thank God the brow lift dropped a little bit. So now it's probably looking a little bit more normal than it did 4 years ago. But here's a trick. I made that brow that perceptually looks heavy to you heavier. I made it 3 times heavier. Now, why does your eye not perceive that as being heavy? For 2 reasons. Number 1, it's convex. Convex is round. Number 2 is that it's balanced with the cheek. If I just fill that brow by itself, there's no balance. You have to have a good aesthetic eye of balancing. I'm going to show you some examples where I didn't fill the brow and why. For balance sake, for artistry. And if you look at her, she looks restful, feminine, youthful. Not before, not when she had the brow lift. And she looks more like she did at 28. That's after a large incision brow lift on the left. Does that look rested to you? I did a mini facelift at 55, and I did volume enhancement for the face. No cutting of the eyes, just adding volume. And that's what's powerful. She looks more rested. She looks like she did at 40. No cutting except for the lower neck. Everything, and that's the only thing I lift today, is just the lower neck. Everything from here up should not be lifted. No mid-face lifts anymore, and I wrote the book on mid-face lifts 5 years ago, but I don't do them anymore. I wrote the book on brow lifts. Don't do it anymore. I only lift the neck when it's necessary. So this lady, we focused on wrinkles and everything. Well, you know what's interesting? She's on Accutane. And as estheticians, you probably know that you can't make a single incision if you're on Accutane. Well, I didn't. That's what's so great about this. But what was the problem? Is it just the folds? I rarely fill folds anymore because they don't matter. And fat doesn't work well for 2 things. The reason fat has had such a bad rap is been placed in areas that don't work well consistently. Lines and lips. And you get this deforming swelling for weeks. That's terrible. I videoed all my recoveries on my website, so you can see it's not a bad recovery. The first week you don't look bad and look great, but by the time you hit your 2nd week, it's coming down where you need to be, and it doesn't even begin to look good. I mean, like crazy good, until 6 months to a year and beyond. I thought fat went away. Hold on. You can see it's not the lines, it's not gravity. I added volume, that's all. It's deflation. How about the lady on the left? That's after a lot of surgery. Does she look rested and youthful and feminine to you? Or did I get her closer? That's the question. And look at her in her mid-30s. Did the other physician even ask to look at her old photos? Of course not. No surgeon has. I use that as my starting point. I had one patient come up to me and said the other surgeon actually tore her old photo up and threw it away. For me, it's predicated upon your identity, so I don't steal it from you. I return it to you. So does fat go away? That's about 6 months out. That's 2 years out. It's held beautifully. This is a lady I did a facelift, 62-year-old, little upper eyelid, fat grafting, lip enhancement, and this is about 6 months out. And let's take a look at her now at a year. It's even softened further. It's even blended better. Look at the lines around her mouth. I did nothing for them. Nothing, zero, zilch, nada. I just filled it. And sometimes the wrinkles can begin to actually fade. Not all the time. Again, that's a variable response, but it's an amazing change that it does occur in a majority of my patients. Something about the skin looks better, except for the guys. Here's a lady at 6 weeks, 51-year-old, facelift and fat grafting. Not bad, but there's a swollen quality to the face, right? Some people love that. I call it honeymoon swelling. Anytime anyone's had a facelift or something cut upon, they get that little temporary swelling. They go, God, I love that. And it went away. You needed fat to begin with. It helps you understand it. But let's look at her over a period of a year. This is 6 months out. And you know what's amazing with the photograph on your right? She's had no sleep. And she still looks more rested. Less than 1 hour sleep. She said, Doctor, don't take a photograph of me today. I said, yes, I will, because it's a perfect time to show that. Now let's look at her at 14 months. And let's compare her to a photograph in her late 30s. Did I get her closer? I created a frame to that eye. Look at where the crease started. Where did I put it? I put it down, lower, even lower. So that's what's a tricky little thing here. Unfaking the fake.